Shalom, Mishbaka. I greet you, brothers and sisters, in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, Baruch, Bashem, the Most High Yahweh, and his Ben Yahusha. Today we're going to speak about something very, very important. And this video is for those walking in the truth with their eyes open, and also for those believing in the second Exodus. Now, this video is specifically important because maybe you've read all the scriptures about the Exodus, the second Exodus, and you still do not understand how do we know when it's actually time for the Exodus to happen. Now, this video is not for those in this truth who do not believe that there is going to be a physical second Exodus and a physical wilderness. If you do not believe, please keep scrolling. This is a video for persons walking in this truth with true biblical expectations. So stay tuned as we go through the scriptures to identify what signs would be here in order for us to know that it is time to get up and flee. We were scattered by Yahweh because of our forefathers' disobedience, because they did not heed to obey the Torah of Yahweh. So Yahweh scattered us to the four corners of the earth. And we are currently awaiting our redemption. Now, our redemption is going to come in the form of the Exodus. Very much similar to what happened in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, when Yahuwah brought Yasharal, Israel, out of Mitzrayim with a mighty hand, and he brought them into the wilderness. Well, let me back up a bit. Before Yahuwah even brought them into the wilderness, he allowed the waters to be parted so that they can walk through on dry land. And he then took them into the wilderness, where they stayed there for a period of time, particularly 40 years. Afterwards, Yasharal went into the promised land. Now, our redemption story, it is similar. It is so much similar. The only exception, though, is that we would not be in the wilderness for 40 years. It's going to be 3.5 years in the wilderness. But something very important is going to happen when we're in the wilderness, just like it happened when Yasharal were first in the wilderness. Specifically, there was a great purging. There was a great purging. The rebels were purged. They did not enter into the promised land. They all died in the wilderness. And this Exodus is also similar. So without further ado, let us get right into the scripture to understand what signs we will know that it is time for the Exodus. And it's also prophesied that no longer will Yahuwah be remembered for what he did when he led us out of bondage from Mitzrayim. But he's going to be remembered for this greater Exodus that is going to happen. The second Exodus. So let's get started, Mishbaka. We were in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 10 through 11. And in that day, there shall be a root of Yessi, standing as a banner to the people. Unto him the Gentiles shall seek, and his rest shall be esteemed. And it shall be in that day that Yahuwah puts his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Asher and from Mitzrayim, from Patros and from Cush and from Elim and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. So it is said here that a banner is going to be lifted. Well, particularly the root of Yessi, which is Yahusha, he is going to be standing as a banner to the people. we need to understand what a banner really is. Verse 12. And he shall raise a banner for the nations, and gather the outcasts of Yasharal, and assemble the dispersed of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth. How about Isaiah chapter 18, verses 3 through 4? All inhabitants of the world, and you that dwell on the earth, when the banner is lifted up on the mountains, look. And when the ram's horn is blown, hear. For thus Yahweh said to me, I am still, and I watch in my dwelling place, like dazzling heart in sunshine, like a cloud of dew in the heart of harvest. So, this sounds a lot like we would be seeing something, and we'd also be hearing something when that day comes. But let me first say there are two specific gatherings in the end times. There's two specific gatherings. There is first the Exodus, the second Exodus, and then there is a final gathering when Mashiach returns. Now we're dealing specifically with the second Exodus. So even in the book of Hazan, in the book of second Ezra, and many other books, we see that there are two distinct gatherings. The first gathering would be the 144,000 from all tribes of Yasharal. And yes, that includes Gentiles. Gentiles are grafted in and they become Yasharal. Just as Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, was grafted in to the tribe of Yehuda. So also would the Gentiles be grafted in to Yasharal. And that is the first gathering. They're the first fruits gathered onto Yahweh. So I'm speaking about the first fruits, not the later gathering, the innumerable crowd that no one can number. Not that gathering. But I'm speaking specifically about the 144K that is gathered. Yeah. Interesting enough, we're told in Hazan chapter 12 that Yahuwah gives that woman two great wings of an eagle. And she is then taken to her place. Well, she flies to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time, 3.5 years in the wilderness. Coincidentally, in the book of Exodus chapter 19, I think it's verse 3, Yahuwah compares the first Exodus as giving Yasharal wings. And I'm going to put it on the screen. Giving Yasharal not just any wings, but wings of a great eagle. So we are now in the book of Isaiah chapter 27, and we want to read verse 13. It reads, And in that day it shall be that a great horn is blown, and those who are perishing in the land of Ashur, and the outcasts in the land of Mitzrayim shall come, and shall worship Yahweh on the Kadesh mountain in Jerusalem. So, again, we're going to see something, we're going to hear something, but we've not yet dealt with what a banner really is. We're going to go into Strong's Concordance and prove all things. So here in the Strong's Concordance, and I'm using the Blue Letter Bible, we're looking at the usage of the word banner or ensign. In Hebrew, it's pronounced as nes, and it's H5251. Well, a banner is something lifted up. It's standard, signal pole, ensign, banner, seal. It's a sign. So we must understand that this is going to be a physical sign. Somewhat kind of like a flag. It's going to be like a flag. I want us to look at the first Exodus. Yahuwah appeared before Yasharal. They physically saw something. And this is also prophesied to happen again for that second Exodus. So Exodus chapter 19, verse 21 through 22. And Yahweh went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, nor the column of fire by night before the people. We're back in the book of Isaiah, chapter 4. We'll read from verse 5 through 6. Then Yahweh shall create above every dwelling place of Mount Zion and above her assemblies a cloud and smoke by day, and a shining of a flaming fire by night. For over all the esteem shall be a covering, and a boot for shade in the daytime from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from the storm and rain. You mean to tell me Yahweh is going to do that exact same thing all over again? A pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire all over again for this generation? Yeah. Well, that is why it's even called the second Exodus, or the greater Exodus. Yahweh is not doing a brand new thing, but he's doing the same thing again, this time greater, and for all the earth to see. Hallelujah. How about the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 30 through 32? It reads, And I shall give signs in the Shemayim and upon the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke. Similar to what we just read, right? The sun is turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be an escape, as Yahweh has said, and among the remnant whom Yahweh calls. So we must also recognize that whilst we are being led out of Egypt, and when I say Egypt, I mean Mitzrayim, or bondage. When we are being led out of bondage, there is going to be way more chaos in the world than it is right now. Luke chapter 21, verse 11. And there shall be great earthquakes in various places, and scarcity of food, and deadly diseases. And there shall be terrors, and great signs from the Shemayim, and there shall be great trumpets. Notice it said trumpets, not just one trumpet, but trumpets. And so far we've acknowledged that trumpet, or the sound of a horn or a shofar being blown, is important with not only identifying the return of Yahusha, but also the time to flee for the second Exodus. That's why it says trumpets. And there are also trumpet judgments in the book of Revelation. Now Luke chapter 21, verse 24, it reads, And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and be led away captive into all nations. Now this has already been fulfilled. We are already scattered. And Jerusalem shall be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Now that time has actually just come to an end. But what happens afterwards? Verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and on the earth anxiety of nations, in bewilderment at the roaring of the sea and agitation, men fainting from fear and expectation of what is coming on the earth. For the powers of the Shemayim shall be shaken. But wait a minute, let's back up. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 5. It reads, This is what Yahweh said. We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turn pale? We just read about that in the book of Luke. Oh, for great is that day. There is none like it. And it is the time of Yahakub's distress, or Yahakub's trouble. But he shall be saved out of it. And it shall be in that day, declares Yahweh of hosts, that I break his yoke from your neck, and tear off your bonds, and foreigners no more enslave them. And they shall serve Yahuwah their Eloah, and Jehud their sovereign, whom I raised up for them. And you do not fear, O Yahakub, my servant, declares Yahuwah, nor be discouraged, O Yasharal. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your seed from the land of dear captivity. And Yahakub shall return and have rest, and be at ease with no one to trouble him. How about Micah chapter 7, verse 14 through 15? It reads, Shepherd your people with your rod, the flock of your inheritance, who dwell alone in a forest, in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old. Comparison, right? As in the days when you came out of the land of Mitzrayim, I shall let him see wonders. So there's going to be like wonders that can be compared to signs and wonders that happened in the land of Mitzrayim when Yahshua first came out. That is from the first Exodus. And here is a fun fact. The bowl judgments, the trumpet judgments in the book of Revelation, it's the similar pattern of judgments that Yahweh, he actually poured out in the land of Mitzrayim on the Mitzrites, or the Egyptians. Now we're in the book of Isaiah chapter 62, and we'll read verse 12. And they shall be called the Kadesh people, the redeemed of Yahuwah, and you shall be called sought out. Revelation chapter 14, verse 4. Now this is the 144,000 from all 12 tribes of Yasharal, who has the name of Yahuwah written in their foreheads. It reads, They are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he goes. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Yahuwah and to the Lamb. First fruits, the first of the harvest. Now Revelation chapter 18, verse 4 through 5, it reads, And I heard another voice from the Shemaim saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive her plagues. Now, who is her? Well, in context, her is the whore of Babylon, which is represented by falsehoods and religions, world religions, lies. We are told to come out of her. We are told to be purified, be clean, touch not the unclean. In the book of Isaiah chapter 52, we'll read from verse 10 through 12. Yahuwah shall lay his Kadesh arm in the eyes of the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the deliverance of our Eloah. Wait, so you mean to tell me that this Exodus is not going to be hidden? It's not a secret? The world is going to see? They're going to know? Yeah. But that's besides the point. Let's continue reading. Turn aside. Turn aside. Come out from there. Touch not the unclean. Come out of her midst, be clean. You who bear the vessels of Yahweh. Now our bodies are the vessels. Our body is the temple. For you shall not come out in haste, nor go in flight. For Yahweh is going before you, and the allure of Yasharal is your guard. Hallelujah, Yahweh.